my name's Claire and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these. So what is this, I hear you ask? Well, it's a great way of wrapping up a poinsettia or another Christmas plant. Even those small Christmas trees look great in one of these. And what better way of making something that's really presentable with a bit of machine embroidery and a bit of cardboard. So hopefully not too expensive, and I don't want you to spend too much time over it because it's really just a cover of the pot. But of course you could go to town, you could actually do some more stamping on the cardboard. If you don't have a stamp or you don't actually have a sewing machine, you don't want to do any sewing, if you cut out some details from wrapping paper and glue them to the cardboard and then use the decorations that you've got, little bits of trim that you can stick to this collar, you can get some really good effects. To be fair, I was spoilt for choice. When I've raided my Christmas stash, I've got all sorts of things in it. So there's ribbon, there's this stuff. I think I'm a bit obsessed with pom-poms, but you've got this lovely cord, and of course I'm sure you've seen these fringings, and they would look good around the top, perhaps in a different colour. So there's lots of possibilities out there. I don't want you to think that you can't be creative. Another thing that's good and effective are some of the table confettis that you get. You can stick those on. And even little pom-poms would look great if you just actually pop them round the top, just glued them. They would be really effective, wouldn't they? But I just want to show you what I've done with the Stag's Head. So I've actually got a wooden stamp which I've bought, and I used fabric paint to stamp it on some cotton. And how I did that, it's a good idea. If you've had a go at stamping and you think, oh, it's not brilliant, what can I do to improve? A good tip is to actually work on something that's got a bit of give. So I buy these from the Arty Crafty place, and they have these lovely foam mats which have a little bit of a give in them. So the best way to actually stamp your Stag's Head or whatever it is that you're doing onto your fabric, I tend to protect this. I don't want all my paint to go through, so I'm just using a little bit of scrap paper. I've popped my bit of cotton on top. This is again the fabric paint that I've used, and what I've done is, using a sponge, is either tip it directly onto the sponge, or you can put that in a pot and dab your sponge in it, but then very carefully just sponge on the Stag's Head. Try not to rock, and then you won't get paint on the edges. And then what you do is literally firm press on there, and then you'll get a lovely Stag's Head. So in true Blue Peter style, here's one I've made earlier, and I've actually already just put it in a hoop just to give it its rigidity. So what I'm going to do with this, so this is cotton, and to colour fix the fabric paint, you iron it. But if you didn't have fabric paint, then of course acrylic paint would be brilliant. You don't need to go to the expense. Even emulsion paint, to be fair. If you can have a colour coordinated Christmas, so if you've got some paint left over from your lounge walls, then why not use the same paint to do some stamping? And as I say, you could actually stamp the cardboard on the way around. But what we're going to do is I'm going to pop some thread into this machine, and I don't normally put gold in my bobbin, but I've got a bobbin full of gold that's accidentally been wound, so I'm going to use that. So I've got gold thread in my bobbin, and I'm using gold thread on the top. So again, it's lovely Madeira thread. I'm a great fan of Madeira. Used it practically all my sewing life, and I've got gorgeous shades of gold. I don't want you to think that gold only comes in one shade. So there we go. Let's just thread this up. So my machine is set to machine embroider, and I've got my machine embroidery foot on. But machines vary. I don't want to give you a setting and say that that is going to work on your machine. It's a case of experimenting. And if you've got a slightly older machine, you'll probably want to slacken your top tension a little bit. So have a little play on a practice bit. But a top tip is actually not to go too fast. Don't sew too quickly, and then the thread is less likely to snap. Of course, if you've got some problems, you can try either a metallic needle, which has got a larger eye and a groove down the front, or a top stitch needle. And both of those actually help prevent friction, which can cause it to snap. And I'm going to start at one of the tips of the antlers. And if I bring my bobbin thread up before I start, and I'm just going to do some little meanderings in the gold thread, which will just give this stag's head a lovely little twinkle. So, oops, there we go. I sort of stitched over that. I didn't really want to do that, but there we go. Let's just chop those out of the way. I'll unpick those when I've done it. And if you're wondering what needle I'm using a size 80 needle, which is absolutely fine. I'm only going through this fine cotton and this paint, which is fabric paint. And I'm not sewing too fast, so I don't have a problem using a size 80 needle, but I know some people prefer to use a top stitch needle, which has a larger eye, and that helps prevent friction and can help prevent the thread from snapping. But if you give your machine time to stitch, then it should be absolutely fine. So I'm just meandering around all the antlers. So just doing this. Oops. Just going over the face. I mean, you could be more precise if you wanted to, but I just thought it's quite nice just to give it a little bit of festive twinkle without going too mad. You don't want to spend too many hours on these sort of gift wraps, if you like, because the recipient may not want to hang on to them. So another idea is that these things that I'm embellishing the fronts with, you could actually make as Christmas decorations, and rather than gluing them, you could just temporarily attach them so that the recipient's actually got a nice Christmas decoration as well. So it just depends how much time and effort you want to put in. I just wanted to give you a few ideas, really. So it's not taking me very long at all to just meander. Oops. Try to do it a little bit irregularly. I don't think it looks too good if it's too uniform. And I'm just doing some freehand wiggly woos, as I like to call them. There we are, and I think if I just come down here, that'll be it. What I would do then is, using some Bonder web, I would iron that onto, again, another piece of felt. And on this one here, I've actually just gone round in black thread 2 or 3 times and deliberately not stitched it so that I've not gone over my line. I know I'm quite fond of going over my line, but I've deliberately wobbled and been a bit sketchy with it because I think that's quite a nice effect. And then, just to finish it off, I've sewn these lovely little bells on. An easy way to sew bells on is just get some double invisible thread on your needle and literally just come up, sew a bell on, go back down, and then sew the second bell. And you can quickly sew all the 6 bells on really easily. And I would do that once you've stitched it to the felt. Cut it out, and I've just used PVA glue. So what I'd like to do now is actually show you how to do the cardboard, because it's quite crucial. The cardboard I've used is 300 GSM, and I did get it from an art shop, but I'm hoping that you've perhaps got some cardboard around the house. Well, I hope you've liked the video. Please give me the thumbs up, and if you've got any questions, just pop them in the comments below. And it's great. Lovely that you've watched today. I really appreciate it, and catch up with you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.